all, myself Dr. Megha, and in this session we will be discussing about concept of nuisance in torts. Nuisance is derived from French word nuire, that means to hurt or annoy. It is a tort that protects against unreasonable interference with the use and enjoyment of land or public spaces. So, if a person wants to enjoy his space, if a person wants to enjoy his peace, and somebody is interfering with that peace, that space, that will amount to nuisance. Nuisance is of two types, private nuisance and public nuisance. In tort, we will specifically be dealing with private nuisance. Public nuisance is a crime, is a form of crime. So, private nuisance is a nuisance that involves interference with the person's use or enjoyment of their property, such as loud noises or pollution. And public nuisance is again a type of nuisance that affect the general public. So, if anybody's interference is affecting public at large, that will amount to public nuisance, and if it affects an individual, that will amount to private nuisance. That public nuisance can be converted into private nuisance if because of that kind of activity any individual got harmed. Examples of public nuisance is like interfering with public parks, public waterways, pollution, or creating health hazards. A person in possession of a property has legal right to enjoy it without disturbance. How this nuisance emerges? It emerges with the very basic right that if I am owning any property, I am having right to enjoy it without any kind of disturbance. Nuisance occurs when somebody else uses improperly his or her property and thereby causes interference with the enjoyment of another's property. Nuisance is considered a tort when such interference affect the rights connected to the property possession. So, somewhere this nuisance is connected with the proprietorial rights. Let us take some definition of nuisance. According to Stephen, nuisance is something that is done to the hurt or annoyance to the land, tenements of the other, and not amounting to trespass. There is a slight difference between nuisance and trespass. Trespass is that somebody is entering into the land of somebody else. He is trying to enter into the land, he is throwing some stones into the land of somebody else, that will amount to trespass. But nuisance is not entering into somebody's land, but it is the interference in the enjoyment of the land by somebody else. So, if it is done with the intention to hurt or to cause annoyance to the land, to the enjoyment of that land, that will amount to nuisance. Then another jurist, that is Solment, he expresses, the wrong of nuisance consists in causing or allowing without lawful justification the escape of any deleterious things from his land or from elsewhere into the land in possession of the plaintiff. For example, water, fumes, smoke, gas, noise, heat, vibration, electricity, disease, germs, animals, that may amount to nuisance. So, sometimes nuisance and trespass can overlap. If I am talking about animals, it can be nuisance, it can be trespass. If I am saying throwing of stones, that can be nuisance, that can be trespass. But if water is entering into the land of somebody else, that is a case of nuisance. If fume is going from one house to another house without any reasonable cause, that will amount to nuisance. If vibration is there, if electricity is there, if noise, heat is there, that these are the cases of nuisance. Let us take few essentials of nuisance, when and how we can make a person liable for nuisance. First and the foremost essential is wrongful act that is done by defendant. So, defendant conduct must be unlawful, unreasonable, that is unreasonable in the eyes of a prudent person. The act should be such that it causes interference with the person's plaintiff's lawful enjoyment of the property. But mere discomfort or inconvenience is not enough. So if my neighbor is playing music in his home and that too is very moderate voice, that cannot amount to nuisance. That is my sensitivity that is affecting me. So that is not a case of nuisance. Caveat, the thing that is I am talking about extra sensitive nature. So if the plaintiff is extra sensitive and finds the defendant reasonable act disturbing, that cannot be considered as nuisance. For nuisance, the interference must be so extreme that is unreasonable in the eyes of a prudent man. Then second one is damage, loss, inconvenience caused to the plaintiff. Only interference is not enough, that must cause some kind of damage, loss or inconvenience. Legal maxim de minimis non curat lex applies over here, which says the law does not concern itself with trivial or insignificant harm. So, if music is little bit loud, that is causing little inconvenience, that cannot be considered as nuisance and that cannot be complained of. So, trivial nature's inconvenience cannot be considered by the judiciary. Minimal or trifling discomfort, essentially due to the plaintiff's own sensitivity, is not actionable. For a nuisance claim to succeed, the interference must be real and appreciable. It must be extreme to that effect that is causing extreme interference with the enjoyment. However, if the defendant's act infringes upon the plaintiff's legal right, it constitutes nuisance regardless of the extent of that damage. There is one case law that is Usha Bain versus Bhagya Lakshmi Chitra Mandir. In this case, plaintiff sued the defendant against the screening of movie Jai Santoshi Ma, claiming that it hurts the religious sentiments of a particular Hindu community. The court dismissed the plea, stating that hurt to religious feeling was not an actionable wrong and the plaintiff is free to not to watch the movie again. If you are not comfortable with the movie, don't watch that movie, because that is there was nothing in that movie, such thing in that movie which can hurt the religious sentiments of the community. Hence, it was held that in order to claim damages for nuisance, the interference shall be in the state of continuing wrong. If if one person has complained for certain act and that is still in the continuation, that may amount to nuisance. So again, the person's sensitivity should be considered while making a person liable for the tort of nuisance. If he is extra sensitive, then the trivial nature of that act cannot be complained of. But still, if that person is complained of and the person is not refraining himself from committing that thing again and again, that it may amount to nuisance. Then kind of nuisance, private nuisance and public nuisance. Private nuisance, which is covered under law of tort, and public nuisance, that is covered under section 268 of IPC and section 270 of now BNS and also section 91 of Civil Procedure Code. Let us deal with them one by one. Public nuisance, it refers to unreasonable interference with right that is common to general public. For example, digging a public road, obstructing public pathways, constructing illegal structures on public spaces. So, if there is some digging on the public road, that will amount to public nuisance and anybody from public can complain of for public nuisance. But if somebody fall into that dig, that will convert into private nuisance and then he can claim compensation for the damage caused. When a civil suit is allowed in public nuisance, so an individual may file a civil action for public nuisance if special or particular damage is caused. As I just said, that if dig is there, that is public nuisance, but if somebody fall into that and he got damaged, then he can file a suit for that damage. The special damage must be direct, not merely consequential, and the injury must be substantial in nature to be complained of. Let's take the legal provision in relation to public nuisance as per section 268 IPC and 270 of BNS. It is punishable as criminal offence. So, if A dig a ditch on a public road and X a passerby falls and get injured, A is criminally liable under IPC or BNS and civilly liable to X for private nuisance. So, generally he is liable under IPC or BNS and privately he is liable for X under law of tort. Dr. Ramraj Singh versus Babulal. It is a case of 1928. In this case, defendant operated a brick grinding machine next to the plaintiff's clinic. Dust caused serious inconvenience to the plaintiff and his patient. Again, in this case, court held that special damages were awarded to the plaintiff due to substantial and specific injury. He was a doctor, he was taking care of the patient over there, and because of the dust that was caused because of the grinding machine next to his clinic, that was causing inconvenience, substantial inconvenience to the plaintiff and his patients, and that is why special damages were awarded to the plaintiff. Then comes private nuisance. For private nuisance, unreasonable interference should be there. So, every interference should not amount to nuisance, only unreasonable act would amount to a nuisance, and this test of reasonableness is based on what an ordinary person in society would consider acceptable. So, again we will see through the eyes of a prudent man what would be reasonable and what would be unreasonable in that particular situation. If it is causing any kind of disturbance with the enjoyment of the land, that would amount to nuisance, otherwise not. Only substantial interference will be taken into consideration, and if a lawful act that is done with malicious intent is not automatically a nuisance, because it is not causing any kind of discomfort to the person's enjoyment of his rights. Then this interference should be with the use of enjoyment of land or property, and this interference should lead to the physical injury to the property or discomfort, health hazard or disturbance to the occupants. Damage as a result of this interference should be there, and this must be continuous or recurring. So, these were the essentials of nuisance. Now, what are the defences that are available with the defendant? First of all, the act that is complained of is not unreasonable, unjustifiable, unwarranted or unlawful. If that is there, then it cannot amount to nuisance. Then there was consent of the plaintiff or voluntary non-fit injuria would be applicable. That was there in the case of Miller versus Jackson. Or ordinarily, for example, the case which we have just discussed about that grinding machine which was next to the clinic of the doctor, if he himself gave consent for opening of that clinic, that will not amount to nuisance, because the concept of the defense of voluntary non-fit injuria would be applicable, which says that if a person voluntarily suffers any kind of injury, he cannot then complain for that injury. Then prescription. Prescription is defense that plaintiff has slept over the rights for too long and therefore he lose his right to sue. If he is facing that nuisance, if he is suffering from that nuisance from very long period of time, then he cannot complain after so many years of the commission of that nuisance. And as far as the law of prescription is concerned, in England this nuisance lasts for 20 years and the plaintiff can no longer sue after the completion of that time. Then the next defense is of contributory negligence. When both the parties are negligent in performing their duties, performing their acts, then it would not amount to nuisance. The next defense is the act of stranger, that plaintiff has not made out any case against the defendant, he has only succeeded in making out a case against a stranger who caused the nuisance. Then inevitable accident, an accident, that is also a general defense. If it cannot be avoided despite of taking proper care and caution, and that cause any kind of discomfort or health hazard to the plaintiff, that is a complete defense. Then act of necessity, again a case of general defense. that if something is done in the necessity, if that nuisance is caused to prevent the greater harm, then it may not amount to nuisance. Then statutory authorization. If the power is given by statute, in exercising such powers, the defendant must ensure that all reasonable care and skill is used. Statutory authority is also a general defense. If statute is giving authority to do that act, and if that act in consequence is causing nuisance, despite of taking proper care and caution, that is not a tort. Then license or consent. If the defendant is doing that act with the express or implied consent of the affected party, and with that license, his license, he is engaging in that activity that is further causing discomfort or health hazard to the plaintiff, that may not amount to nuisance. Then in last, let us take some remedies to nuisance. These are certain remedies that can be availed by the plaintiff. First of all, abatement of nuisance. Abatement refers to self-help, although it is a last resort, but it can be taken by the plaintiff to stop or remove a nuisance. It involves the injured party taking action without going to court. Then in minor cases of nuisance, limited self-help may be permitted by law, although court discourages this kind of self-help because it may involve some kind of force that can be used by the plaintiff and defendant, and that can go against the law. But in some kind of nuisance, that is minor nuisance, self-help may be permitted. Because the reason of this self-help is court proceedings can be costly and time consuming for trivial matters. Any act of abatement must be reasonable, proportionate to the nuisance, and that is done without causing harms to the other. So again, court only permits abatement in the cases when it is reasonable to do so. In very minor cases, again if force is to be used, that is to be in proportionate to the nuisance, and that must be done without causing harms to other. Then second and the most important remedy that can be availed with the help of court of law is injunction. There are many types of injunction like interim injunction, which can be obtained pending the determination of the case. Interlocutory injunction, that is obtained again pending the determination of the final injunction. Final injunction that exists that can be given after the finalization of case. Injunction is to stop. This stop order can be obtained from the court to prevent that person from committing any kind of nuisance in future. It can be obtained meanwhile the proceeding the case before the passing of interlocutory order. It may be obtained before the finalization of the injunction, and finally it can be obtained after the completion of the case. Then it can be prohibitory injunction, it can be mandatory injunction. Prohibitory injunction is the final order which prohibits one person from doing something, which prohibits the defendant from committing the nuisance in future. Mandatory injunction that mandates one to do something that you need not to do that thing. This is a mandate. And it may be a directory injunction that directs a person to do something. In case of mandatory injunction, if defendant fails to do the or fails to obey the order of the court, he can be liable to pay compensation or fine in return, while directory injunction are not in that capacity. Then injunction can be temporary too, and it can be permanent too. Temporary means that meanwhile the case is pending and the judgment is yet to come, the court can order the defendant that you have to stop committing that thing again till the finalization of the case. This will amount to temporary, and maybe the final judgment can go in the favor of defendant. And permanent injunction, where the order is made to permanently stop doing that act by the defendant. So, injunction is the discretionary remedy. It is not an obligation on the court that they have to give the order, it is just a discretionary remedy, and court has discretion to grant or refuse injunction, so that even if one has made out a good case for the grant of injunction. So, it is completely a discretionary remedy. Then the next remedy is damages. If the plaintiff wants to claim, plaintiff is getting any kind of damage, he has suffered any kind of damage by that nuisance, he can claim damages. These damages can be aggravated if nuisance is very much, it is an aggravated in form. He may ask for the nominal damages. If the nuisance is of very small nature, trivial nature, then he may ask for the nominal damages, he may be awarded. And special damages, if case is of special nature, then he may be awarded the special damages. So, for this session we have discussed about the concept of nuisance, what is the meaning of nuisance. We need not to confuse with the concept of nuisance and trespass, because they are having the differences. Trespass is also interference with the enjoyment of land, but trespass only deals with the proprietorial thing, whereas nuisance is dealing with the enjoyment of that land. Nuisance can be private one, it can be public one. If it is public nuisance, then it will be considered as a crime, but if it is affecting the individual's right, then it will be considered as private nuisance, that is a civil wrong. Then we have discussed certain defenses and that the remedies that is available for the nuisance. So, that is all for this session. Thank you.